So today we're taking a look at a figure that I've wanted ever since I saw it come out. This is WeiJang's Opimi. It looks like it's an upscaled retool of the deluxe size Optimus Prime from Transformers Animated. Everything that I've seen so far that has to do with this product relates to it being a WeiJang product, but there's really nothing on the packaging that says that, even in Chinese. So I had a Chinese friend check this out, and this part says Transformers or something derivative of Transformers. This part says ages 6 plus, and this part says Super Metal. But essentially there's nothing on the packaging that says it's a WeiJang figure, but it supposedly is. Now, so here is essentially the product. It's Land Mecha. It's also known as being part of the Lubo Force series. When you take a look at all of the online selling descriptions for this particular figure, also known as Robot Force and Land Mecha. If you take a look at the back of the figure, you'll see that there's very clear instructions, but I'm not gonna take a look at that because, you know, we're gonna try to figure this out straight out of the box. And here's the transformation. You know what? I might actually get Hotan, because if it's a retooled Sentinel Prime, then I can do something with that. I've always wanted an upscaled Sentinel Prime, and this might be the way to do it. So, as you can see, there's Speed Car or retooled Starscream. Booby, not 100% sure what it's supposed to be, but that's a retooled Bumblebee from Animated, and a retooled Sentinel Prime it looks like. There you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this. Right off the bat, there's something interesting here in that the inlay tray is the reverse of the usual. This part is usually at the bottom, but here it's on top, which is nice. Can use that for some product shots that if you might be inclined on doing that sort of thing. I'm gonna take this out of the packaging. So here you have Land Force Opimi. Now, it looks like a solid figure. I mean, it's still kind of a knockoff in a sense, but the plastic is stronger than usual for you know, based on how I'm looking at it. It's not a thin plastic at all. This is an interesting new take on the axe. I'm gonna show you how that's different later. I like that it's fairly tight on there in the hand. Now let's take a look at the colors and paint. So the blue is kind of a pearlized sheen type blue plastic, and so is the red. The red also has, you know, a sheen to it, which is nice. It's almost not, I don't want to say magenta, but it's a lighter red, which is nice because that's a lot like what we get in the Transformers animated figures. Now, when it comes to paint, so you've got some silver detail here, some black detail here, yellow here. The face is nice. Overall, it's giving me an Orion Pax vibe, more so than it's gonna give me an Optimus Prime vibe, and I kind of like that. It's like a beefy Orion Pax. Everything is plastic, and you'll notice that the wheels turn even in bot mode, but I feel like some of them might be a little too tight, so I'm not entirely sure if they'll roll properly. But you'll see here that this is die-cast metal. Now, a lot of you guys like die-cast metal parts. Personally, I don't, because they tend to scrape. But if you're a fan of die-cast metal parts, as always, WeiJang does that every now and then. So yeah, there you go. Metal chest plate. So let's compare this Optimus Prime, or Opimi, to Voyager Optimus Prime. And as you can see here, he's almost the same size. I want to say almost because he's not like 100% the same size. And if you look at the figure he was retooled from, he's larger by a couple of heads, as you can see here. So that's a nice comparison, and right away I can already see where, you know, stuff is gonna be different for this figure versus the deluxe version and the Voyager version. Now, both of these figures inform the engineering of this figure, and I'll show you how later. They're essentially, if I'm gonna do a little bit of camera magic so you can kind of see they're pretty much almost the same style of engineering. And I say almost because not 100%. It's heavily retooled. If I'm gonna compare him to Voyager, he's definitely a different bot. Like in terms of the engineering, it's definitely different. Let's compare him to a fairly recent bot, which is Earthrise Optimus Prime. And as you can see, he's a little bit taller, but he's a good fit. Even the chest piece kind of lets you know that these will probably scale well together when you put it in alt mode. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and transform this figure. So yeah, we're doing a little bit of a test to see if this is gonna be an intuitive transformation. So I'm going to bring these together and swing this around because that's what it looks like it's supposed to be doing. Do the same for this side, swing this around. So far, fairly intuitive. Or it could also be that, you know, the fact that I own the previous figures are kind of informing my transformation. There's a little bit of a notch there. Just peg that in. Peg that in. And then it's almost done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring this up and swing this back around. And then this part, actually slide this over up onto the top. Bring this section backward and then swing it back. And then turn these wheels around. Then push them back forward. And there's a latch. It just connects. And then bring these together. And close the trailer portion. So one thing that it skipped in the transformation process of the older one is the legs don't recess into the body. And then flip the toes out just a bit. And then you can grab onto those sections there. And this section here, you can just close that over up top and push this inside so you can have a little bit of a more solid look. Push everything together and you have a very long cab. Now there's a purpose for this because see this axe? This axe actually is a lot like the Voyager axe, but instead of folding and having a closure on top, this one folds on the bottom instead. So as you can see here, top, bottom. So it forms a little bit of a like enclosure for the back of your truck. It's like a little bit of a pickup truck. And then you're going to just wanna see those little square pegs there. Put them on the square peg holes or notches. Do the same here. And you have your more solid truck mode. So real quick, here's a comparison with Deluxe Transformers Animated, Siege Optimus Prime, and Voyager Animated. As you can see here, he scales up pretty nicely with Optimus Prime from Siege. He's almost about as long. He fits just fine. He's between the size of Voyager and Deluxe Optimus Primes from Animated. And as you can see, like I said earlier, while the tooling of the most of the figure for Deluxe was used to make this Opimi figure, the axe portion was inspired by the Voyager Prime, as you can see here. And yeah, they scale together pretty nicely. These can go together fine. And these can go together fine. They make sense in any collection. But again, I'm not gonna call this a Transformers animated toy. It's definitely not a Transformers animated toy. It's just inspired by that. It's its own thing, which I like. And definitely, I'm enjoying the... I mean, it does look a little plain here, but I'm definitely enjoying the fact that, you know, it's its own thing. It's a very different take on Optimus Prime. Now, in case, if for any reason you wanted to put a car inside there, so here he is with KBB Bumblebee, and this is a deluxe cup. He does not fit. But if you have a more Legends class figure like this KBB Bumblebee, then that works great. So you can see. So he hides him very nicely. It opens from the side if you feel like doing that. And the thing that I actually saw someone do when I saw this WeiJang figure on Twitter is to have these Beast Box Dio KO figure crates and place them on Optimus Prime to give it a more filled out look. And that's essentially how it looks. So that's essentially how I'm going to be displaying this figure, because that's what I saw on Twitter and I liked it, and I'm going to be using that. I also have the option of swapping out the black for blue if I wanted to. There, that's how he would look carrying, I don't know, crates of Energon or whatever, or supplies. So I think that's pretty neat. So transforming him back, I'm just gonna grab this section right here, unlatch these side panels. So you can see you don't have the trademark Transformers animated engineering where you push these legs in. You don't have to do that with this figure, which is nice because over time that gets grating to do. And then you just unlatch this section here. And then take it apart. Take off the front section here. And then you're gonna wanna push this down, push this back rather. This is the thing that you might want to take care doing, because you know this has always been the annoying thing even with the deluxe version. And then bring it back up. And then I just realized that there's actually supposed to be a tab on here, but it was already broken on mine. So that's a QC issue. So you might want to be careful. Bring these down. And as you can see, you have these little wing things here. Turn this around. Bring this down. Flip this back section this way. Do the same for the other side. And there you have Optimus Prime in his robot mode once again. And then just open these. And they go really tightly onto the 5mm port hands. And there you go. So overall, I really like this figure. It's very different from what we've gotten so far. I'm gonna like set him to the side here with the Beast Box Dio figures that I have, just because. And yeah, I recommend this figure to anyone who wants different versions of Optimus Prime. It's different enough to warrant another purchase. That's what I would say. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me in this review of WeiJang's Opimi, or Optimus Prime. This has been XPaco. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at X_Paco. And this has been X's Toy Universe.